This video was made possible by Dashlane. Stay safe on the internet for free by signing up for Dashlane at dashlane.com/HAI. It's late October, which means trick-or-treaters will soon be going door to door extorting their favorite Halloween snacks from defenseless homeowners. Some like chocolate, others go for lollipops, and a few prefer human flesh. We are, of course, talking about polar bears. But wait, you ask, I only see polar bears during Christmas Coke ads. But if you're one of the 2,657 people who live in Arviat, Nunavut, Canada, you'll remember the one time when polar bears ruined Halloween and put an abrupt end to trick-or-treating. Now, for some reason, many falsely believe that polar bears don't live near any areas populated by people. As their name suggests, polar bears live here, near the pole, and not a lot of people live around here. But if cyanide class taught me anything, it's that not a lot isn't none, and there are some places around here, like Arviat, where polar bears and humans coexist. So polar bears don't tend to have set territories because their living areas are tied to their sea-dwelling food source. They wander all around the far north in search of food, namely fat seals. Some polar bears can live more than 600 miles away from their original birth sites, which is even more impressive when you consider that most polar bears walk long distance at no more than 3 miles per hour. Polar bears live in regions where sea ice collects and solidifies to the point of creating platforms that they can use to hunt on, and because they use twice as much energy to move than your average picnic basket stealing or honey-eating bear, they prefer to do their fishing as still as possible on the ice shelves. As you can imagine, this is becoming a problem due to the ever-warming Arctic pushing polar bears to more populated areas. Currently, there are an estimated 20 to 25,000 polar bears left in the world, with 60% of them living in Canada. Since polar bears are some of the only animals that are predators to humans, they have been regarded as human-hunting fuzzy terrors, but to be honest, polar bear attacks on humans are pretty rare, with 73 recorded in an 144-year period, and of those recorded, an even smaller amount of 20 attacks have been lethal. 2/3 of those attacks, however, had something in common. The pronounced points of parity provoking the predominantly peaceful polar pups? They were hangry. The attackers were mostly starving young male polar bears, and these attacks commonly happened in between feeding seasons before and after the ice shelves solidified. With their resources and habitat shrinking, these polar bear attacks are becoming more common, with 20% of all recorded in 144 years being between 2010 and 2014. This is why it's not too surprising that, 1 year before trick-or-treating had to be cancelled in Arviat, there was a polar bear attack 160 miles away in Churchill, Manitoba on Halloween night. That particular attack saw an entire neighborhood throwing shoes and shooting at an irate bear who was attacking a local elderly man. The bear wasn't deterred and didn't stop his assault even after it was shot. In the end, it took one of the neighbors getting in his truck and chasing the bear to get it to flee. Arviat, which is near Hudson Bay in Canada, is pretty secluded from the outside world and is generally only accessible by ATV or by helicopter. Lately, the town has seen a real boom in the polar bear tourist industry, as the town now sees as many as 1,200 polar bears a year during the polar bears' migration north in the late fall period. Coincidentally, there are also around 1,200 children in the town. The people of Arviat see 6 to 8 bears a day during migration periods. The World Wildlife Fund therefore employed a bear monitor specifically to watch the bears and make sure they pass through. This corralling of the polar bears of Arviat has seen the bears down in the dumps, literally. The bears have been known to take over the garbage dump, and thanks to the ice platforms melting, the migration path now has them going directly through the towns where the locals store and dispose of marine carcasses and remains after hunting. Naturally, when the town realized how dire the situation had become, the only logical step was to call off trick-or-treating. It's dangerous enough to have the kids go door to door when the town only has a few hours of sunlight, but when you sprinkle polar bears into the mix, it almost makes you miss the days of razor blades and apples. So, trick-or-treating on Halloween was cancelled and other indoor activities were planned for the kids over the next 2 years. In 2016, the town allowed trick-or-treating to resume, but only after it surrounded the populated areas with armed guards and had firefighters turn on their sirens to deter bears. Of course, the scariest thing that could happen this Halloween is not being eaten by a human-hungry polar bear. It would be having someone hack your YouTube account, look at your watch history, and see every messed up and freaky video you watch. When creating a password, you want to have a complex one that you don't use on other sites, but this, of course, is tough because that's so many passwords to remember. Unless you have Dashlane. Dashlane generates super secure passwords for you, stores them in one super secure place, and autofills them on your devices when you go to log in, so you stay safe on the internet. The best thing is, that's free at dashlane.com/HAI, but if you want to get all their premium features like a VPN, syncing across devices, and dark web monitoring, you can use the code HAI to get 10% off upgrading to premium.